Hey everybody, today we are going to continue looking at quadratics written in standard form. Prior to this, you guys looked at how to find the vertex and axis of symmetry by using some formulas. And so for today's lesson, we're actually going to look at graphing these quadratics and looking at the key attributes based on the graph. So as you can see, the notes are open on the left-hand side of your screen and the Desmos graphing calculator is open on the right. So let's go ahead and let's begin. So taking a look at your first example, it says f of x equals 3x squared minus 6x minus 2. Now, just a reminder, working with these graphing calculators, we can't type it in as f of x, but if you wanted to type in the y, you're more than welcome to do so and say y equals. You don't need that. You can just type in your quadratic equation. So then we're going to type in 3x to the power of 2 minus 6x minus 2. And as you can see here is our quadratic, and some of those key attributes have popped up for us. And so we do need the vertex, which remember that is your minimum point or your maximum point, and in this case it is your minimum. And we are looking at the coordinate 1, negative 5. So let's go ahead and let's fill that in, 1, negative 5. And then your axis of symmetry is going to be the x value of that coordinate. So your x value is x equals positive 1. The direction. Which direction does this quadratic open? Well, the parabola opens up and the y-intercept. So if you remember your notes from the last lesson, the y-intercept in standard form is going to be the c value, which in this case is -2, or you can actually look at your graph over here. Where does it cross the y-axis? And remember, that's your vertical one. The y-intercept is 0, -2. Okay, so your roots. Now, in this case here, your roots are not necessarily some even numbers, or not even numbers, but exact numbers. They are going to be decimals. So we're just going to say, what do they fall between? So again, we can highlight our roots, our zeros, these x-intercepts here on our picture. So we're looking at -0.29. What does that fall between? Well, that root falls between a 0 and -1. And the other root of 2.29 falls between 2 and 3. So that decimal falls within these two numbers right here, okay? Your domain. Well, as we've been discussing, the domain doesn't change. This one is all real numbers from -infinity to +infinity. But the range, this one is important here. Where does the range go? So these y values are going to start at -5. We always look at the y value of the vertex, and they are going to go to -infinity. So we're going to say from -5 to +infinity. Or for the set notation, we can say y such that all of your y values are greater than or equal to -5. Okay, so really nothing new with any of this. It's just showing you how to type it into the calculator and how to get some of those key attributes, which a lot of y'all are used to getting. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the next part of your notes here. Let me go ahead and zoom in on these. Here we go. So what we're going to do on this screen, on this part of the notes, is we are going to take a quadratic that is in standard form, and we're going to convert that to vertex form. It's actually really simple. So let's just remember what these different forms of a quadratic look like. So y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. This is your vertex form. And y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. This is your standard form. So how do we get from this form down to here? Well, a couple of things. First of all, let's talk about what we have in common. As you can see on both of these equations, you have this A value, and that is going to be the same for both of these equations. That number is not going to change. So if we look at our quadratic down here, example number 2, f of x equals negative 2x squared minus 8x plus 9. The A value in this case here is going to be negative 2. So when we write here in just a minute our quadratic in vertex form, that negative 2 will be part of that equation. Okay, but as you can see, vertex form has an H and a K, which remember that represents your vertex, and standard form has B and C, and the C value is your y-intercept. So none of those letters are going to match up, but we do have a way of finding our vertex, and that is to graph it over here in your Desmos graphing calculator. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to type this equation in. So let's get this cleared out. So we're going to type in negative 2x squared minus 8x plus 9. Okay, so as we can see, the negative sign reflected it. Okay, good. We have a parabola that opens upside down. So in this case here, we have a maximum. So the vertex is negative 2, positive 17. Let's write that in. Negative 2, positive 17. So I want you guys to be careful with this next step here. So we are going to be replacing H and K. Let me highlight these here. This is H, and this is going to be your K value. And we are also going to be replacing the A value with the negative 2. Okay, so let's fill this in. Y equals, and I'm going to be using this equation right here for vertex form. Okay, so we're going to replace the A with a negative 2. Okay, then there's an open parentheses. Now that equation says x minus h. So I'm going to type or write in x minus, well, h is a negative 2. Close it and we square it, and then there's a plus k. So we're going to write in plus the k value we're going to replace with 17. Now be careful. What just happened right here? There's 2 negative signs. And what do 2 negative signs need to turn back into? Okay, so hopefully you said a positive number. So y equals negative 2, x plus 2 squared plus 17. And that is your equation in vertex form. So we just converted this standard form into vertex form. So it is pretty simple. All you need is A, the value of A, you need your vertex, and you also need to understand if your H value is negative, it's going to turn it back into a positive. Okay? So let's go ahead and do try another example here. Okay, so here we have 3x squared minus 12x plus 20. So let's go to the graphing calculator because we need a few things from this. We need the vertex, we're going to need the value of A, and then we'll need to fill that in. So let's go ahead and replace. So we're going to type in 3x squared minus 12x plus 20. Okay, so we can see that this parabola is going to open up. I do have a minimum. I'm going to click on that point right there, and it's already highlighted for me, and my vertex is at 2, 8. So we're going to fill that in. And then looking at this quadratic in standard form, what is the value of A? Remember, that's the coefficient on the x squared. The value of A is going to be 3. So when we fill this into our equation, y equals, we want the A value first, times x. Now remember the minus sign, which is part of the equation, x minus, and then the h value. So remember the h value is going to be your 2. And because it's a positive 2, look at that. It doesn't change signs. We're going to say x minus the positive 2 squared, and then plus 8. And again, something to just kind of check it, you can go back over here in your graphing calculator and type in what you just wrote. So we're going to type in, or if you want the y equals on it, we can definitely do that. Y equals 3, okay, parentheses, x minus 2, close the parentheses, and we're going to square it, plus 8. And did we end up with the same graph? Yes, we did. So you can definitely check if you've typed it or if you've written your vertex form from your standard form correctly, okay? So make sure that you are taking your notes, especially what the formulas represent and how to replace them, and make sure you're working on your assignment, and we will see you guys tomorrow.